With more than 25 years of experience building software products, we know the difficulties of creating the apps you use every day. This show seeks to evaluate and build up popular tools used by many by offering our critique of the design and user experience and our suggestions on how to improve them. Hello, I'm Federico Ramasho. I'm software engineer, entrepreneur, and with me we have Lino. Hello, Lino.
Hi, Federico. I'm a classically trained designer working in digital products now, and I've had experience for over 15 years. And with me is also Alejandro Romero.
Hello, I'm Alejandro Romero. I'm a product designer. Glad to be here.
Great. Welcome, Lino. Welcome, Alejandro. It's great to see you. And today we have a very interesting topic to discuss, right? Microsoft Teams.
Yes, this is a product that is used by many. Some people really enjoy it, some people not so much. And I know in part it's because it's all bundled up together with Microsoft. The 365 Office and everything comes together, so a lot of people get to use it. And the reason why we decided to share it is because we've seen a lot of improvements over the years, especially as we've used them more and more, especially when everyone was kind of forced to work remotely and use all these software tools. More of these problems started to come to the fore, and we started to notice improvements. Things that were obviously not so great eventually got fixed, which is very nice, and that's something that we're going to be sharing on things that we found that need a little tweaking based on those improvements, because we actually noticed there's a part where something was enhanced, we liked the way they fixed it, and then there was a new addition that they put, which we like, but that one wasn't covered. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, which is specifically on screen sharing and the annotations bar, which is a sort of new functionality. People that use Slack, for example, a lot of them I know like using the option to doodle and draw on people's screens because it's very handy, especially for us designers, but I know other people as well. They like to point at things on the screen, so instead of trying to get the person to move their cursor to the right place, they just like to draw directly and say, like, here, focus on this thing, or here's the thing, click on it. And so it's a very quick way to work and collaborate with people. And Teams added a similar functionality called Annotate, and we like the way that it works. It has some nice features, but it could also use some improvements. So Romero, I pass the ball on to you to talk about this.
Got it. Well, thank you. So basically how the current annotate bar works is as follows. It does work when you click on annotate. It will add a bar below, and it will show this bar, but with this new addition of the drag bar that was currently added to Teams, they missed on adding this drag icon in here. So, and it also doesn't follow the theme. Either you are on light theme or dark mode, it doesn't follow the theme, and it always shows as a white bar regardless of the theme that you are on. So I think that this was something that it should follow the same theme that you're on, as well as adding the drag bar will be handy, because it wouldn't disturb you with what you're trying to select or trying to annotate on.
Mm-hmm. And this is actually, the funny thing is, the topic was originally going to be the top bar, because we've been using Teams a lot recently, and that's something that was starting to get a little annoying, and I saw in forums people complain about it a lot, which is that when you start screen sharing, Microsoft Teams puts that bar that you see on the top at the very top of your screen on top of everything, and usually we're using browsers with tabs to share things, and that's exactly what it's covering. So a lot of times you're trying to get to a tab and you can't see it, so you either have to control or command tab through the tabs to try to find the right one that's hidden behind it. And so it was very annoying. And then a lot of people were saying, what are workarounds? And one of the official workarounds was like, just make your window smaller. It's like, that's not really fixing the problem. Like your app is the thing that's not working right. So thankfully, they listen, and so they added that drag component to the top. So now you can move it out of the way, move it to the bottom, whatever it is that you need it. But as Alejandro pointed out, we noticed some issues, which is one, dark mode is not being followed by the bar, and two, here is Alejandro's proposal, which is pretty simple. Just add that drag bar component, just like you have it on that other part. Bring it back to the bottom one, and then you can rearrange your panels as you want. Because sometimes maybe you're doodling on something near the top, so you want to move that to the bottom or backwards. You need it down there, so you don't want it on the bottom. So it gives you that freedom of choosing where you want things to be, which is a very important concept in UX of letting people, work the way that is more comfortable to them if they can. Sometimes you have fixed UI elements depending on the app, and it makes sense. But when you have these floating elements that get in the way of things, it's almost impossible to know or to predict. Are you going to put it in exactly the right place so that it gets out of the way of things? The way people have their screens set up, the way people have giant resolution screens, small resolution screens. Some people work on their laptops, some people work on their giant TVs. You never know if you're going to hit the right target or if you're going to be in the way of something important, because everyone's screen is different, which is something that I think is very important. So this is our proposal. We're starting off something simple, but something that, to show the fact that even little improvements can make a huge difference in the user experience, because it's the difference between letting me put things where I want them versus just frustrating people and maybe not even wanting to use the feature because it gets in the way, because it's obstructive, or just because it's, little annoyances can build up. So Alejandro,
the issue is that it is disruptive, right?
Exactly. Keyword. And that's something that we want to avoid, because UX, sometimes people talk about disruption in design and other things. Sure, you want to disrupt when it comes to not following the status quo, and you want to bring something different, because even though everyone does something the same way, you want to do something a little different. That kind of disruption is fine if you do it better, and if it works better, and if you can bring in a new pattern, which has happened a lot in design and in apps. But disruption in the way of I can't get my work done, that's the worst thing, especially when it comes to something like Teams, which is supposed to be a productivity app. So when you get in the way of productivity, that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, it stops your flow, and then, what are we thinking about? What I was talking about, because you cannot click the tab, or you cannot, do what you're trying to do.
Exactly. And here we're seeing a proposal. Alejandro, I'm not sure if you want to share anything additionally, but here's where you're showing the fixes.
Yes. So basically what we did here was adding the drag button, as well as making it follow the current theme that the user is on. And like Lino mentioned, it's the little things that on UX that keeps users engaged on their products.
Right. I think that the amount of features that they are adding to Teams are great. They have so many new features that keep adding and adding, but sometimes they have this hit and miss on this type of interfaces, that it's like, you're building so many, great features. Why cannot you fix something small like this, right?
Okay, so this is basically just one of the things that we wanted to start with. We want to start off small with this initial, session, because, like I said, there's a lot we can discuss. There's a lot of, keywords, like you said, Federico, disruption, flow. That's very important, especially something that all of UX and design in general, and not just design for apps. Flow is a big term in video games as well. When you have a good game, for example, that lets you enter into that flow state, then, everything disappears, the control disappears, and you just do what you want, basically, right? And the same thing happens with good apps in design. When it gets out the way, when it lets you do what you want, then the app feels great, the product feels great, people are happy with using it, and obviously they're going to recommend it more. So that's just something that we wanted to, focus on and bring to the forefront, because this is something that we would like to share in the future as well with other products that we have in mind, because there's a lot of times when the app is almost there, but there's this little thing that kind of bugs you, and sometimes that little annoyance can turn into a huge annoyance. Sometimes it can be a simple fix. Sometimes that fix might need a lot of extra things. And something else that I just wanted to point out, which is kind of the point of this show, we don't want to just criticize, which is why we're showing an example of a way to fix it. We want to help build up these apps, which is why we're bringing examples, because it's very easy to just complain online and just say oh, this app is trash, or they don't know how to do things, or blah, blah, blah. We've had a lot of years of experience working on apps. We know, the things that happen behind the curtain that a lot of people don't know about. And a lot of times there's all these things that you don't know of why they didn't do something as simple as fix it. Well, sometimes there's all these things in the way, or considerations or time constraints, etc. And sometimes they're just let's get the thing out the door and then we'll iterate and improve. that's something, especially nowadays, that's a lot more common than beforehand. Years ago when app basically had to launch in a near perfect state because there wasn't as good of an ability to roll out updates and fix things as you went and iterate. So this is something that's important, especially in our culture, that we don't want to tear down, we want to build up. So hopefully we'll continue to do that with this and future episodes.
Yeah, it's so hard to, as creator of software products as we are, it's so hard to build new products, and we have so many constraints, so many time constraints, and we have a lot of people involved, and it's a very very difficult endeavor. So we have the utmost respect for all those creators. So we're trying not to just criticize, but add build up and add some value to it. So yeah, I agree with you, Lino. Yeah.
Exactly.
What are the things that?
Oh, sorry.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was going to ask you, what are the things that you like the most about Teams?
Well, this annotation feature is something that makes me happy because we've been using Teams a lot more, and so that's something that I like to use. I use a tablet a lot because of RSI and carpal tunnel type issues on the wrist. I can only use a mouse for so long, so it's something that I'm very happy to have with Annotate, because I like to be able to point out things, and with a pen it's a lot easier to doodle than with a mouse. But I just really like the fact that I can point things out, especially with my design team. We do a lot of design critiques, a lot of reviews, and it's a lot easier to just point things out, make a quick little sketch, brief wireframe, other kinds of things, just really quickly, and be able to collaborate. But the nice thing about Annotate in this case, unlike Slack, for example, Slack just lets you doodle something quick with a color. For one thing, my complaint about Slack is sometimes they give you colors that are very hard to see. Like sometimes you get like a yellow pen and it's randomly assigned and you can't change it. So sometimes your doodles are very hard to notice on the screen. Sometimes we've had issues where other people can't see exactly where the drawing is. And what I like about Annotate, if you look at the bottom of the bar, it actually has a lot of extra options. So you can just be using the pen for a little bit if you just want to be clicking and pointing at things. It has a laser pointer, which lets you draw like a little... It actually is like a drawing technically, but it fades relatively quickly. So that's something that you can use it to point out something like click here, but then it disappears. So it doesn't just clutter the screen, which is nice. And then you have like a pen, you have a highlighter, which is kind of nice. So if you're reviewing documents, which is something that we were doing before, checking notes, you can help highlight things or point things out. So, there's a lot of options. Even the fact that you can put actual comments, you can leave little sticky notes. So it can make this become, the screen share isn't just doodling and pointing things out. You can actually just very quickly collaborate on things. So I think they have some nice ideas. But again, there's improvements to be made. And maybe as we use this app in more in the future, we might have some extra ideas on how to improve it even further.
Right. What about you, Alejandro? What are things? What is one of the features that you like the most about Teams?
This drag and drop, this drag icon is the one that I really enjoy a lot, because usually when I used to share my screen, it was a hassle to get rid of that bar, because it got stuck on the, like on Figma, for example, it got stuck on the name of the files, so I couldn't see which file I wanted to open. And this drag icon is like the simple things, like little things that can change how an app works, like on a 360.
What I like the most about Teams is that you can record the meeting, and it's stored on the server. So we used to use Zoom before, and it was a very painful process. So you would record it, it would save it on your local computer. So if you lose the connection, then you could miss some video, audio, whatever. You could miss some part of the meeting, and then you would have a native a video file or whatever that has the video and the chat and all that stuff. But then you had to upload it, so it will take a lot of time to upload it, and then the issue we had with Zoom is that they had some, you can host it on the server, you can record it on the server, but it's limited to a few gigabytes. So after, we're doing a lot of recording interviews, so record those and then those pile up, right? So one of the things that I like the most about Teams is that you press record and it's saved on your local OneDrive. So you have 1 terabyte of data there. So, almost infinite space. So space doesn't become an issue. That's what I'm trying to say, right? And then we had these show and tell recurring meetings where we have the team sharing their experiences. Again, the same thing. And then we build a library of all those meetings so people can go and check them out, right? And because it's, it's stored from the server to OneDrive, you get the best quality possible. So, regardless of your connection or whoever is recording, right? So I think that's an amazing feature. That it's why one of the reasons we decided to use Teams more for that, right? Great, Lino. Any other comments?
No. We just wanted to clarify that these are our personal opinions. Like I said, we're not affiliated with any of the companies that we review or will review on this program. These are all just our own words. And the reason why we do this is because our goal is to examine these products for educational and entertainment purposes. So we want to make sure that people learn. We want to share design experience with other people, maybe bring up topics that others haven't really thought about. And hopefully in the future we can start more interesting discussions with, maybe this is a good or a bad approach, because something that we want to avoid is just saying, oh, this is just better because we say so. No, what we want is to spark a conversation, or even just to show the why of our opinion, because a lot of times in design, there can be two valid opinions, but ultimately what wins, or what should win, is what makes the goal better. Like, what is the use case or the most common use case, and are you solving for it? Because there's a lot of extra things you can do. There's a lot of bloat you could add. A lot of more things. Oh, but what about this case? What about this case? But eventually, you have to try to streamline the product a lot, which is why we said we don't want to just criticize. We want to offer some feedback and try to find these fixes, because it is very difficult to build up these days. There's a lot of tearing down, but it's very hard to just, be like, okay, we like what you're doing. Here's how you can do a little bit better. So hopefully, people will enjoy that, because this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to build positive things. That's the, what's behind a lot of what we do in our work. Is we just want to make the world a better place, and one way to do that is to build up.
Right, we want better software products with better user experience. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and leave your suggestions in the comments for the next product you would like to see us review. Sharing this episode greatly helps us to stay motivated and continue producing quality content for you to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you all.